And the סימן of הטמנת is Reish Nun Zayin. I just wanted to mention two things over here from Reish Nun Zayin as an understanding of the דיני. It's called דיני הטמנת החמין. So he says over here that Rabbi was salek kedeira melgabi kira. In other words, the pot was cooking, and before Shabbos, it's not going to, the coal is not going to hold till tomorrow afternoon. So you want to keep it hot even after the coal extinguishes. So they would take it off once you could, and then they would wrap it. That's what means. A bogus solid kedeira me'agabi kira u'atmino, and to hide it. Kedei shalei testanim. So also latmino the dover hamoisav hevel. You can't use a material that is like a material that heats up, or it maintains the heat. Afilu mevoyjon. Now, so that means the pot is not on any fire that we're talking over here. It's not on any fire, but you just take it off and you want to wrap it up. So you can't wrap it in an item that's moisav hevel. What's the reason? The reason is because Gzeira Shema Yatlin beremetz. He may hide it or store it in remetz. What's remetz? The hainu eifer shem be'ura by gecholim. It's eifer with gecholim. You put it in there. Now, so what's the problem if you put it in there? He said, but the problem is that v'achakach yishkach v'yichate begecholim. After that, on Shabbos, he'll forget. So right now, this keli that's Talmud has no fire on it. It has no coals around, no remnants around it. But still, you can't wrap it in a material that could maintain the heat.
Maintain it or give to add
it's
to.
It's called moisav hevel.
Moisav means to add. Maintain it.
Yeah, the chayre doesn't. I don't think it means mamish.
No, because it said before when you have...
It's a material that it comes with heat, so maybe...
No, but they were talking before, they talked about, let's say, the grapes, the certain things.
Yeah,
that's moist of hevel, because the thing itself, when it sits, it gives off its own heat.
Okay, so
that's moist. This is not moist.
No, we'll still see what's moist of hevel. There's a list over here, what's moist of hevel. So the whole... Issa Atmona is the Gezeira that Shema Yaplin beremetz, and you will come to stir the remetz.
Right.
That's the shayla. Then he said, "V'imov v'hitman, afilu b'shoygeg, hatavshu osa, ve'iloi v'nachayim adu mitzvah Shabbos," and so on and so forth. Now there's another din. The din is also that this is an Erev Shabbos. Also, lahatman b'Shabbos the dober she'ena moisav hevel, not moisav hevel. That's on Shabbos. On Shabbos, you can't. Moshe say if you want to wrap a pot in a towel we'll see later is not a dober moisav hevel. But if you want to wrap a pot in a towel, so you can. Elokisham matman oisek adeira asma. That the pot that in which the food was cooked, so that pot it can't be matman, even to wrap it in a towel.
If the clay rishon.
1 minute. She'oz reish ligza shema yasichano avu impino l'gdeira cheres. If you emptied it into another pot, mutu atminai afile im chozer ve'zira l'gdeira hadishayna mutu. In other words, if you took it out from the original pot and you put it back into another pot, and then you put it back in the original pot, so the whole gezeda falls off, And the issa of the bimatna fil nadavish she'enam moisav hevel. Now he says over here, let me find that part.
That's a practical thing. If you take your cholent off the fire, you can't wrap it up in a towel.
Let me find it. He says he gives over examples.
If you wrap it completely, you only put it around the sides.
Of the item. Okay, now he also says over here, I saw before that. Ilahin dvarim hamasifim hevel. These are he gives a list. So he says there's a psoyer shel zaysim. Yeah. Okay. Shel shumshimim. U'achar she'etziyah shmanai. V'zevel. U'melech. V'sid. V'chor. That's sand. Ben shehem lachem, ben shehem yeveshim. V'tevin, v'zagin. Zagin is the kind of soilish or anovim. That's the shell of the anovim. V'achar she'etzir yayin. Umuchen, pirish kol dover rach korem muchen. You're going tzema geffen. That means cotton. No, we're not talking about, I explained to you once that Tzema Geffen, when you go to the drugstore, they have cotton, that they sell a bag of cotton balls for $1 or $2. Yeah. Those are not Tzema Geffen. Those are a synthetic material. Tzema Geffen is the cotton that they have a small box. It costs like Johnson & Johnson. It costs $5 or $6. That's the real cotton. Utrishe Tzema Rach shel behema ugridas begodim pluyim, and it's smart is that they take smart and they ground them up. Avo, he says, kol min exus, a garment or a towel even on him, upeiris v'noitzes is feathers, noitzes is called oifus, and nura shel pishtim. So he said all these. Einem Mesifim Hevel, they're not Mosif Hevel. At the end, he has a very interesting סימן. He says, the last סימן in Atmana, he says as follows. Mitzvah lahatman l'Shabbos. To have hot food for Shabbos, which the only way they used to do those was Atmana. We don't do actual Atmana because you keep the food on the fire, and the fire is burning, the food is on the blech, so that's the actual, we don't need actual Atmana. But in the olden days, they needed Atmana because the cooking would finish, and then it would cool off overnight, right. So you needed that Atmana, just like we use the refrigerator to maintain the freshness, so they had materials to maintain the heat. So he says, mitzvah lahatman l'Shabbos, kedei sheyechel chamim b'Shabbos. In order to be able to eat warm food on Shabbos. Ki zehu mikoved v'oinik Shabbos. State the Shabbos we learned already before that. There's covered Shabbos, there's oinik Shabbos. Ava misha hachamin mazikin loi. Someone that the hot food is it's no good for him. Is mutar lechel tzayna. He's allowed to eat cold. Now listen to this. Avo, he says, mi she'ena mamin b'divrei chachamim. Someone has no faith, no belief in the goodness of the chacham. V'oisa achilas chamin b'Shabbos. It says you're not allowed to eat chamin on Shabbos. Yeah? There's such people that they say that you're not allowed to eat the chamin on Shabbos. So he says, Chashinon Shema B'Kaidisu. Now the question is, what does all this mean? Why is someone going to say, you're not allowed to eat? If someone doesn't eat chamin at all, I understand that. He doesn't like hot food. So during the whole week, he doesn't touch hot food. He only eats cold food. But if someone eats hot food a whole week and says Shabbos you're not allowed to eat hot food, he's an apikaitis. What's it got to do with apikaitis?
Because he doesn't believe that the Chachamim said that you're allowed to make hatmana.
No, that's not the reason. The reason is because we're choshed, maybe he's a tzedaki. There were a group of people that were known as tzedaikim. The tzedaikim, they were Talmidei Chachamim. There was even a kain that was a tzedaki. Like the Rebbe has a whole sikha by Simplus Beis HaSheva that they were kahanim that didn't believe in Simplus Beis HaSheva. Why not? Who's the statement in the Torah? It's not in the Torah. You learn it out by the Parsha, by Sukkot. There's an extra mem and an extra yud, an extra mem, and it spells mayim. But the whole idea, and that's what means that you got to go to draw water and you got to pour it on the mizbeach. Nothing of that's written in the Torah. So they only believed in Torah Shabbat and did not believe in Torah Shabbat. They don't accept the Torah Shabbat. The Chachamim came along and with ideas. I have my own ideas. I don't have to need your interpretation of the Torah. I go by my interpretation of the Torah. So there's a pasuk in Vayakel that the pasuk says, "Lesavaru eish v'chol mashasechem b'yem b'Shabbos." What does that mean? So we teach it to mean that on Shabbos you shouldn't make a fire, but before Shabbos you got to make a fire. No problem. So they say no. Lesavaru eish v'chol mashasechem b'yem b'Shabbos means on the day of Shabbos you shouldn't have any fire lit in your house. So these people, the tzedaikim, among the many things that they didn't accept, was also the idea by Shabbos they sat in the dark. They had a candle before Shabbos, as long as the candle lasted, and then the candle burnt out, they went to sleep. No, that's not unusual, because in the olden days, they lived by candlelight. So as long as the candle was on, and then later went to sleep. And the morning they got up, you didn't need the light. Till late in the afternoon, you could manage. The whole concept that we have, that we hold food on the fire and say overnight on the fire, that's a hepach. They didn't do that. They couldn't eat hot food on Shabbos, because you can't have a fire burning on Shabbos. So they can only eat cold food on Shabbos. So they would say that you're not allowed to eat cold food on Shabbos. So if they would say you're not allowed to eat cold food on Shabbos, then that the shayla, if someone's not eating it, and he didn't specify that it's a health reason by him, so that the shayla, is he one of those people, or just that he didn't have a chance to make the heat or whatever it is. So that's why he says that Avamisha Eina Mamin B'Divrei Chachamim and V'Oisa and he asks Achilas Chamim B'Shabbos because the pasuk L'Sevar Chomash Shabbos is Choishish Shema Apikairisum. There's another strong state that there's a shayla if he dies or if you could bury him among Yidden. Because Shema Minhu. Okay, I just wanted to explain these things over here. Let's go over here back to, we're in, what do you call it, in Ayin Beis, and we're up to Sif Chaf Aleph. So he says, Hamatmin coffee. That word is coffee. It means kafe. The Erev Shabbos. Shabbos Azay. A lot of people used to make tea. How did they make tea for Shabbos? Not the way we do it today. That we have hot water that's cooking, and we have another little chinik or kettle with tea in it. And how did you get that tea? You got that tea by putting hot water in with the leaves, right, and it turned into tea. But the people like to drink hot, so they don't want to take hot water, and the tea you put in is cold, because that's contrary to the idea of the hot tea. So how did they keep the tea, the sense, how did they keep that hot? So that when they want to make the tea, they make the hot water and the tea together. We have whole shilas about one time, two times, a different minhagim by Bishop. So he says, so what did they do? They had to do something to keep the sense hot, not just the hot water. So he says, Hamatman kofar b'erev Shabbos, someone that stores coffee on Erev Shabbos, b'toich haguma, in a little ditch, okay, l'tzayrach Shabbos, u'mechaseyu, and he covers it, b'korim u'kedayma, she'heicham. So im hu matminai b'toich chol, if he's putting it into sand, and we learned that sand is one of the things that's moist hevel. So if he's putting it into sand, also the hatman kol akeli b'toich hachol. You're not allowed to, by the din of atmona, the din is it's not called, it's only called atmona if the whole keli is covered. Not only if the whole keli is covered, but it's completely covered. Like I gave an example one time when I discussed about the shalu of a thermos. So I said that there's two types of thermos. The thermos is a bottle, b'teich a bottle. So if there's space between the wall of the inside bottle and the outside bottle, that's not called atmona. But if the thermos has an insulation and you fit it into, you push it into the insulation, then it's covered from all sides. That's some people want to say is atmona, because it's covered from all sides. So that's what he's saying now, the same thing over here also. Also, you're not going to put the whole keli into the sand. Before we learned the din about Shabbos, we learned here in the Kitzur Shulchan Aruch about Shabbos if the keli is on coal. If it's keli on coal, so we learned that you're not allowed to do it. Why you're not allowed to do it? Because when you're going to pick up the keli from the coal, so you'll be stirring the coal, and the coal will begin to burn better. So that's a different shayla. That's the yichata b'kacholim, and you make fire. Over here, you're not going to make fire, but it's because it's sand, but it's a davar hamoisiv hevel. V'afila einay mechasen kol hakeli ela miktzosay, v'al miktzosay mechase b'vgodim u'kedayma, ba'ofen in a way shekol hakeli mechusa mikol hatzdodim is gam zeh also this also. Ever tzarech la'asos ba'ofen zeh, you have to do it in such a way sha'akeli asher b'teich ha'kofer yatmina irak at chosrei. You should put only half of it into the sand. Or a third of it, another the lower part should be in the fire. The hamoisa yehei ba'aver, and the rest will be in the air, will be uncovered. So, like I said, by the din of atmona, when is atmona shayla? If the whole keli is covered from all sides, but if the whole keli is not covered from all sides, just part is covered, that's not a problem. V'yitin ala guma oy daf oy chapa olav keli shehei aver beinoi ubein hakli shebetoich hakofi. Another that it should be covered from on top. you have a cover over the keli.
Yeah, so if the thing is like this, you put a larger thing over the top, so you shouldn't be touching it.
V'oz yochel litin alein begodim ukedaim.
On top of that keli.
Okay. Let's just see over here. Samach chashecha yishal le'anshe beisa v'lashon raka. You should say it in a soft way, in a pleasant way. Hafrashtam chala v'yemru hadliku es haner. There's a Mishnah in Shabbos in the second page Bama Madligim that says that Erev Shabbos you have to remind the family iraftem if you made an eruv and afrashtem challah because they bake challah so if you bake it, and hadliku as haner.
Also on Mises.
Huh?
And Mises also.
Okay, well that's part of iraftem I think. You don't. No. There are some that are medayik in this Mishnah, but it's not according to Lubavitch and Minig. There are many people that when they light the candles for Shabbos, so first they light them, and it's called hivuv, and then they put it out. And then they light the candle.
It should light easier.
So the fire holds better. Because sometimes people light candles, and then they walk away, and suddenly it goes out. And because the wick was not properly prepared. If the wick was already burned, it has a little charcoal on the tip of it, so it'll burn later better. The question, who has to do that? The husband or the wife? So, in many homes, the husband does that,
right,
and the wife lights the candles. The Rebbe writes, I think, in the Zechronis, the Rebbe writes that it's not the minig and Lubavitch, that the husband should do that part.
They shouldn't do it at all, or they shouldn't do it by that.
I don't think we do it at all in Lubavitch. But some are medayik from the Mishnah, because when it says you only ask them, you're telling them to light the candle. Now the candle's already prepared. That stage was taken care of by the husband, and this was prepared for you to light the candle. Let me tell you that in the Lashon Mishnah. Okay. Person has to check his pockets Erev Shabbos. Im ein machat tochel behem. A Morgus item was very popular, that people would do tailoring and they would stick a needle in their garment. There's a whole shayla about if you got to carry that needle. Oy im ein ezel davar bekisam. Bafil b'mokna sheyesh eruv. Shema yesh lahem ezel davar muktzah. So you should have to check your pockets.